Hello everyone, I am your friend Madhavas, Assistant Professor, Department of ENC, Gosia College of Engineering, Ramanagram. I welcome you all for today's session on Digital System Design using Verilog, Lecture 7 on Module 1, that's on Introduction and Methodology. Before going to the detail, if you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel, click on the bell icon for further notification. Today, we'll be concentrating on a sequential data path and control signal. Already we have seen this in the previous session. We'll be just continuing about that. So the example of today, what we are going to see is that we have to design a control sequence for the control signal of a sequential complex multiplier. So let us see the solution for this one, what we have. So we need to first determine a sequence of the operation to be performed by the data path to implement the required function expressed in the equation. So whatever the complex multiplier equation we have here, P is equal to AV, that is equal to PR plus JPI, which is nothing but ARBR minus AIBI plus JARBI plus AIBR. This is the expression for the complex multiplier, which you already seen it when we are seen the block diagram for that one. Now we need to find the one of the possible sequence of a control signal there. So there are many possible sequences. As we know that we have a different solutions for the problem there, but we need to choose one possible sequence which satisfies the requirement constraint of the given model there. So if it meets the requirement constraint, then that's from the input to the output, it should satisfy the timing constraint, and the design model should satisfy the area, how much power it is consuming, what is the cost after manufacturing, everything. So there are so many constraints which need to be satisfied, and we have to select the proper one there. So one possible sequence initiated by the input ready being one is, you have to multiply AR, BR and BN, A underscore BR. So we have given the notation there, and store the result in the partial product. Register 1. Okay, then multiply the imaginary part there, AIBI, and store the result in the partial product. After getting two products, we have to subtract it. So subtract the partial product result. Result is stored in the partial product, real part register there. So this is first three steps we have done it for the real part. Similarly, you have to do for the remaining three steps for the imaginary part. So multiply ARBI and store the result in the partial product, AIBR and store the result in the partial product too. Then add the two product. Then we get a imaginary part there. Okay. So these are the steps what we have it. Okay. But selection of this one plays a very important. And if you observe how many clock cycles it is required, so this sequence would take around 6 clock cycles to complete. Because there are 6 steps, it will take around 6 clock cycles. In each cycle, only one of the arithmetic component is used. So there is no conflict for the resources. Now, if you observe in each step, there are only one operation is carried out, and there is no conflict because there is no interference of any other operations or any other signals there. But since it is taking 6 clock cycle, is it possible for us to reduce it? So we can reduce the number of clock cycles required without creating a conflict by using multiplier and the adder subtractor concurrently there. So if you observe, when it is performing the subtraction operation, we can simultaneously carry out the multiplication operation of the expression there. So here we can merge the step 3 and 4. If you observe here, 3 and 4 can be merged together. So what happens? One step we can reduce it, or one clock cycle. It means that we are improving the performance. So that plays a crucial part. So then we try to modify the design. So specifically, if you merge this step 3 and 4, in which we subtract the partial product and we perform the multiplication, if it is carried out concurrently, then we can save 1 clock cycles there. So one possibility of designing. So let us see the simple control signals which need to be generated for this particular design. So we can see it in the table there, where A select is 0, B select is 0, partial product chip enable is 1. Second one is 0, subtract is nothing. So if you observe here, we are activating the particular operation there, and we are performing the multiplication of that one. So similarly, A select, B select is selected, second partial product is selected. So this is the step 4 and step 5. Okay, the combination of all these control signals, what it does is that in each step, it causes the particular data path to perform the required operation for that particular step there. So whatever the control signal is being activated, right, that particular signal will activate the data path to perform the required operation in that particular step there. So that's the thing what is being carried out. So this is the control signal sequence which is being generated there. Okay, now the next important concept and the most important one in understanding the sequential basics is about the finite state machine. This is one of the important things in understanding the front-end VLSI design concept, or whenever we want to design a model. So what is that? Let us see the concept. So in general term, if you refer, a finite state machine is defined by a set of inputs, a set of outputs, most important one, a set of states, a transition function that governs the transition between the states, and an output function. So what happens here is that along with the input and output, it consists of a states. What is that state? Along with the input, it performs certain transition function. Along with this, it gives the respective output function there. So this is the important thing of a finite state machine. So the states are just an abstract value that marks steps in the sequence of operation. So what is the state machine? Whatever the steps what were declared there, it is being shown in terms of graphical representation manner there. Okay, so and these machines are called as finite state because it is having a finite number of sizes. So it is having fixed size, so it is called as finite state. So that's why it's called as finite state machine. So finite state machine has a current state in the given clock cycle. So there are different states present there. Generally, we use two terminology there. One is current state, which is present at the present state there. Another one is next state. So the transition function determines the next state. For the next clock cycle, based on the current state and possibly the value of the input in the given clock cycle. So what happens here is that in the current state, depending upon the input it is receiving and the transition function present at that particular state, it decides to where to go for the next state there. So that's the important thing, what it will decide. So which is the next state, whether it has to go to the next state or it has to maintain in the same state. That depends upon the input, transition function, and the control signals there. So the output function determines the value of the output in a given clock cycle based on the current state and possibly the value of the input in the given clock cycle. So after performing that, it gives the respective output. So depending upon its input signal, current state, if it is going to the next state, what is the possible output it has generating is given on that one. So this is the simple representation of a finite state machine. It's a sequential circuit. It has the flip-flops and certain logical functions. So if you observe the flip-flop output, it's the current state. So current state is given to the next state logic, or there's a transition function. Okay, so depending upon the input and the current state, what is having the transition function, it generates the next state logic to the flip-flop. As we know, flip-flop stores the information. So next state becomes the current state in the next clock cycle then. Okay, next, depending upon the input it is receiving and the current state logic, it says that either it is a Mealy machine or a Moore machine. That will come to know now. So the register stores the current state in binary coded form. So generally system understands the binary. So it stores all the current state information in terms of binary coded information. So one of the state in the state set is designated as the initial state. It means what? Whatever the correct initial value is there, that the initial state is there, it is been designated that one. When it occurs, when the reset signal is activated, it means that when the system is in idle condition or in a reset condition, the finite state machine will always be in the initial state. And that initial state, we term it as current state before the start. There is a during the start of the FSM there. That is finite state machine. So during each clock cycle, what happens is that the value of the next state is computed by the next state logic, what we have seen in this particular figure there, okay, which is the combination circuits that implement the transition function. So since it's a next state logic is a combination circuit, perform the transition logic and generate the next state signal. Also, the output are driven with the value computed by the output logic there, which is being combinational circuit that implements the output function as we have seen in the figure what we have here. Okay. So the outputs are control signals that governs the operation of the data path. So what happens here? The outputs are the control signal that governs the operation of the data path, means which data path has to be selected so that it gets the proper output after meeting the requirement constraint there. What happens and how it happens? On the rising edge of the clock, the beginning of the next clock cycle happens. There's a current state is updated with the computed next state value. So any changes should happen, it happens either during the rising edge or a falling edge. Now here we have considered it as a rising edge of the clock there. So the next state may be the same state or the different state depending upon the conditions what we are receiving it there. Okay. So now we have the finite state machines are often divided into two classes. One is Mealy finite state machine. So what is it, Mealy finite state machine? The output function depends on both the current state and the value of the input. Simple way you can observe in this particular figure, this would you will come to know. So in this particular figure, if you observe here 0, 0, we have written that if it is initial condition and if it is input is 0, it will be present in the same state or the other state. It will decide. So depending upon the state here S1, so this S1, S2, S3 are the respective states. Okay. So after seeing this, it is giving an output there. It is going to the next state. So in such a machine, the connection drawn with the dashed line, the figure is present. So if this dashed line is there, so this is a Mealy machine. What happens? It is using the input as well as the current state to produce the output, there. Okay. If the input value change during the clock cycle, the output value may change as consequences. So what happens if either during the rising edge, if the input changes, the respective changes we can easily observe it at the output. So this is the thing present in the Mealy machine. Okay. Now in Moore machine, what happens? So this is a Moore machine. This is a more finite state machine. On the other hand, the output function depends only on the current state and not on the input value. So if you observe in a Moore machine, only in the initial case, we have the input condition. Afterwards, if you observe in the respective steps, there is no conditions here, arrow marks attached to it. Okay. So what happens is that the dashed connection in figure is absent. If this dashed connection is not there, then this is the Moore machine. Okay. So if the input value change during a clock cycle, so during the transition, the output remains unchanged. So there is a difference between Moore and Mealy there. So the output doesn't change during the transition of clock cycles here. So in theory, for a Mealy machine, there is an equivalent Moore machine and vice versa. So if we have a Mealy machine, then we can have equivalent Moore machine Or if we have a more machine, we can have easily the melee machine in our design there. But in practice, one or the other kind machines will be most appropriate. Means what? Selection of this melee or more, it depends upon the designer there. But in any model, FSM, that's a finite state machine, is compulsory required for the huge block of design there. So a melee machine may be able to implement a given control sequence with fewer states, but it may be harder to meet a timing constraint due to a delay in arrival of inputs used to compute the next state. So what happens here is that the advantage of melee machine is that it takes fewer states, but there is a problem of meeting the timing constraint because it depends upon the input signal and the changes to happen to the next state, it takes certain delay there. So this is the drawback of this melee machine. So we represent the example of finite state machine and we'll identify whether the melee or more machine in our next question there. Okay. So in many finite state machines, there is an idle state that indicates that system is waiting to start a sequence of operation. As I said, there is an initial state. So it is nothing but idle state. It indicates that it is waiting to start the sequence of operation. The first state, in other terms, we call it as idle state. So when an input indicates that the sequence should start, like a reset signal or an enable signal, the finite state machine follows a sequence of states on successive clock cycles with the output values controlling the operation in a data path. So what happens? Then once the initial state is started, it goes step by step to the next state and perform the respective operation at the successive clock cycles and produces the successive output and select the proper data path to get the proper output there. So that's the thing what will be happening. So eventually when the sequence of operation is complete, again the FSM return back to the idle state. There's an initial state there. So this is what is happening in the FSM. Now let us see one example for the same complex number multiplication there when input rate is being 1. Okay, so develop a Verilog model of finite state machine to implement the control sequence for the complex multiplier. The control sequence is initiated by input ready being 1 during the clock cycle in which the new data arrives at the data path input. So let us see the solution. So architecture declaration same as we already seen in the block diagram what we have. Now let us see the Verilog program and FSM and the control sequence. So this is the control sequence what we have generated for the given complex multiplier. And for this table, we have drawn the finite state machine. And this finite state machine is nothing but a more machine because it is not depending upon the input signal there. Now let us write the program. Already we have seen the complex multiplier program before. Once again, we'll just check it out. It's a module multiplier. Since we know that it's a multiplier, output is of before decimal point, it is 8 point. After decimal point, it's 24 points. Input is before decimal point 4 point. Output is after decimal point 12 points. So clock, reset, and input. Okay. So respective control signals we have seen there. And the respective flip-flop what is being required for the design. Now, for declaring the states, observe we have used the parameter 2:0. It means it is 3-bit. Why? It is of 5 bits. There is a 5 states. If it was 4 states, 2 bits was sufficient, but it is 5, more than 2, 4. So we are considering as 3 bits. Step 1 is coded as 3TB000. Step 2 as 001, step 3 as 010, step 4 as 011, step 5 as 100 there. As we already said, we have current state and the next state. Now we'll see always at pause edge of the clock or pause edge of the reset because it should check the initial condition. Okay, once it is reset, it should be in the step 1. So step 1 is what? It becomes current state. If it is reset is not 0, then it will go to the next state. So next state it becomes current state. So that's the always block what we have. Always at current state, I input is ready. This is the star means what? Whatever the sensing signals present inside always block, that should be written there. So case is the current state. Okay. If input is ready, it will be in the step 1. If it's not ready, it will be in the step 1. If it is ready, it go to the step 2. From step 2, it goes to step 3. From step 3, it goes to step 4. From step 4, it goes to step 5. And observe the last stage. From step 5, it again comes back to the initial state, that is step 1. Next, operation. So these are all the initial conditions what we have. That's for all the control signals are 0 there. Now let us see the current state. What is the current state? Partial product 1 chip enable is activated. Okay. Then at step 2, if you observe that A is 1, B is 1, and chip select 2 is activated. And third, most important thing you can observe here, subtract is activated from that control sequence path. Okay, and the fourth, the remaining partial product is activated, and the fifth, the imaginary partial product chip enable is activated there. End case, and for this always block. Okay, now we have seen the activation of the signal. Okay, so like this, the operation is being carried out. Now, let us draw the transition diagram. It's a FSM for the same complex multiplier for the respective transition. If you observe the step 1, if it is 0, it is in the initial condition. Observe 2 zeros, 1 0, 1 dash, 00. 2 0, 1 0, 1 dash, 00. So that's what is step 1 is. So after performing for step 1, it goes to the step 2. From step 2, it goes to the step 3. From step 3, it goes to step 4. Step 4, it goes to step 5. All this what we have written inside, they are all the output. Once if the output is written inside the state, then it is called as Moore machine there. Okay, you'll come to know all these things. So you can observe the same thing what we have written here table inside the state machine. So there is a transition from step 1 to step 2 that occurs when the input ready is 1. And the transition from step 1 back to itself when input ready is 0. If you observe, input ready is 0, same state. If input ready is 1, it goes to next state. All other transistors are unconditional. It means since it is Moore machine, the output values are all drawn in the state bubble itself. Okay, inside the circle or the bubble itself, we have drawn the output. Okay. So in many applications, a state transition diagram is useful notation since it is graphical way of representing the control organization of a sequential design or how the control of operation is carried out by that particular model there. So FSM plays a crucial part. And there are many CAD tools that provides the graphical editor of the state transition diagram. And the tool itself will generate the Verilog code for the simulation and the synthesis. So what happens? It reduces the designer time for writing the program. So this is the most important thing present in the finite state machine. Almost all the tools what we have, it will make use of it. And what the Xilinx tool we have studied, in Xilinx also, we have an option of designing the state machine and we can generate the code automatically there. Okay. If you have any questions, go to the comment section, write down your questions, I'll reply to your question. If you like my video, subscribe to my channel, click on the bell icon for further information. Thank you.